All right, guys, what's going on? It is March 7th, 2022. And the one thing that we can start looking at now is looking at the Form 4852 substitute for Form W-2 wage and tax statement. So you can see that up here, my little thing, 4852 substitute for W-2 form. So what's going to happen is a lot of times we had W-2s that were maybe sent from an employer to the wrong address. You try to contact the employer, they're not responding back to you. Maybe the employer's gone out of business and you never got a final pay stub or any recognition of the amount of income that you had from the employer. So right here, this form is going to tell you what to do. It says you must take the following steps before filing Form 45852. So attempt to get your Form W-2, Form W-2C, or Form 1099-R, original or corrected, from your employer or payer before contacting the IRS or filing Form 4852. So this is super important. First thing that you want to do is try to get a hold of your employer. A lot of times you'll send a final pay stub or no information to your tax preparer. But if your tax preparer has to take the time to go and look up this information for you, then your bill is going to go up because they're spending more time. So what you can do on your behalf is try to contact the employer. You may have to call multiple times. I know it's frustrating, but you want to have a W-2 either emailed to you, mailed to you, or a way that you can look it up online to get that W-2 so we can file complete and accurate tax returns. It helps when you're filing so you don't get your tax returns held up in the IRS's database. So right here, if you don't receive the missing or corrected form from your employer or payer by the end of February, so we are now March 7th, so we're at the end of February, so we can now call the IRS at 800-829-1040. So that's the main line for the IRS. As you guys know, it may be difficult to get through to the IRS right now, so I know it's super frustrating. You must provide your name, address, including zip, phone number, social security number, and dates of employment. So you'll need to go back and figure out the dates that you worked for this employer that's not giving you the W-2 or even an incorrect W-2. You must also provide your employer or payer's name, address, and phone number. The IRS will contact your employer or payer and request the missing form. So the IRS is actually going to send a letter to the employer and have them reissue that W-2 for you. So the IRS will also send your form, a Form 4852. If you don't receive the missing form in sufficient time to file your income tax return timely, you may use the Form 4852 that the IRS sent to you to file your return. So here's our 4852. So what you're going to do, and I just have some random information in here, but you're going to have your name in here, first and last name, your social security number, and then enter year and space provided and check one box for the tax year ending. So this is going to be for the tax year ending 2021. I have been unable to obtain or have received an incorrect Form W-2. So we check this box right here. And then if you have the employer's name, address, zip code, you'd want to fill that in, and the employer's federal identification number, if known. So sometimes if you just have a final pay stub, we don't have that federal employer identification number for the employer. And then down here, what you do is your Form W-2, enter wages, tips, and other compensation and taxes withheld. So if the nice thing is if you have a final pay stub, you can go in and enter this information and it's going to be accurate. But if you don't have any information, then it's going to be a little bit harder. You may have to do a little bit of math to kind of figure out, what your wages were, what your Social Security wages, what your Medicare wages were, how much federal income tax was withheld, how much Social Security tax withheld, how much Medicare tax withheld. So I just have random numbers just plugged in here right now. And then down here, it asks, how did you determine the amounts on lines 7 and 8 above? So I'm just going to assume that you have a final pay stub right here, and it's pretty easy to calculate these numbers to have the numbers filled in. And then number 10, explain your efforts to obtain Form W-2 or Form W-2C, corrected wage and tax statements. So this says C statement 1. So what you can do is you can enter, hey, I tried to contact the employer multiple times. I got the runaround, and you need to really position what your efforts really were to get the information. So don't just make it up. I've seen a lot of people trying to get a hold of employers, and they kind of get the runaround from management manager, and they need to do it online, but they don't have the login information and passwords. And then also you want to say that you contacted the IRS. So if you didn't get a hold of your employer, you contacted the IRS. And depending on what time of the year it is, there may be times where you can log into your transcripts and actually have that information in your transcripts because it's been provided to the IRS. So we don't want to have to file this form. You can tell it's a lot of runaround, a lot of work to kind of get the information. So it's best if you can just get a hold of the employer, have them issue you a W-2, make sure that you get it. It's a lot easier than having to track down all this information, fill out this form that may be correct, it may not be correct, depending on what information you have. So I highly recommend, guys, do your best. If you know you work for an employer, do your best to go and get the information from the employer. Most employers are cool. They're not gonna not issue you this unless for some reason you did them wrong, is the only reason I could see someone trying not to get that information to you. But if you contact the IRS and the IRS sends them a letter, they're gonna issue you the documents. So I know there's times when you're in a hurry to file and you don't want to go through these steps, but these are the steps that need to be taken before we fill out the 4852. This is kind of a last step resort of everything. So hopefully this is some value for you guys. Hopefully I can give you guys some benefit. I appreciate you guys watching my videos, subscribing, clicking the like button, or even clicking the dislike button if I haven't provided you any value. But I appreciate you guys, and we'll catch you on the next video. Happy tax season.